We are at episode 18 of the Making Noise podcast. Welcome. My name is Adam Kana. I am the host. I am a composer, a guitarist, and instructor, and I run this podcast. On the Making Noise podcast, it's made up of unfiltered and unedited conversations with fellow musicians. And we talk about really anything, whatever comes to mind. Sometimes it works out exceptionally, sometimes not so much, but I think this conversation with the wonderful Marianne Parker was a fantastic one. I had so much fun talking with her. She's an absolute delight. We get to spend a lot of time together with the organization we're a part of, New Music Chicago. Marianne is the, I believe, secretary of the organization, and we both put together or help produce the live stream performances, which you'll hear a little bit about in this episode. But Marianne is a pianist. She is also an instructor, and she recently started taking up composing. And we talk about that a little bit too, which was a really, really interesting part of the conversation. I want to go to something real quick. She emailed me after our conversation and said something that I thought was just amazing, and I really wanted to share with you. So she said, one reason I'm really thrilled to find my way around compositional confidence is that I feel it will make me a better communicator with my composer collaborators, and that it's encouraging me to listen to music in a new way. And I was so excited that she had sent that to me. It says a lot about who she is as a performer, as a musician, her desire and interest to become better at her craft and be able to build stronger connections with her colleagues and collaborators. You know, what more could you ask for in someone that you're working with? So that's Marianne right there. And then she also sent me something else that we forgot to talk about, but Marianne also helped curate a anthology of solo piano works for NewMusicShelf, which I believe you can pre-order right now. I'll put the link in the description, but it's all works of contemporary composers. I think maybe 20. There's so many on it. It's fantastic. And I believe it's around $25 or so. But yeah, it'll be linked in the description. Yeah, so I think you're in for a good experience here. And a few announcements. I have a premiere coming up May 22nd. The fantastic Bia duo, I think it's Bia, B-I-A, is premiering a work that I've written for them. We've been working on this for a little over a year now. It's called The Rise and Fall. And they are a saxophone duo made up of Brianna Buck and Alexis Shiahi Chang. They are fantastic people, so much fun. They were just amazing to work with, and I can't wait for the performance. It's being live streamed, and the performance is taking place at Oklahoma State University Museum of Art. So I will link to that in the description as well. And other announcements, I have some spots open in my guitar studio. Anyone who would like to have lessons, we can do it virtually, or if you're in the Chicago area, in 2 weeks I'll be fully, vaccinated, I guess. Yeah. And we can have lessons. So feel free to contact me, AKKENNAUGH@gmail.com. And I believe that's all. So, all right, let's make some noise. My name is Adam Kana, and I am a collaborative composer. Join me in the search for a career in classical music. This is the Making Noise podcast. Whenever you're on a call like this or something, like a Zoom call, do you always have your French press ready to go?
If not French press, then yeah, usually coffee of some sort.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. The handiness. It's like, all right, I'm just going to reach over here.
We'll plunge.
Yeah.
The old plunge and go.
What is it about French press exactly that I've never used one? So I know like you put it inside the glass container and you push it down and like, but yeah, what does a French press do differently?
Now that's a question for a coffee snob. I think it's such an easy process personally. Like
Uh,
we do grind the beans, so that's a little extra effort. And my husband like was set on getting like the really manual burr grinder, so that's kind of makes you really strong in your right arm. But then I like that it's no waste. You don't have to use any kind of disposable filter with it, and I think it might like extract more oils from the beans since they kind of all get along, sit together for like 4 minutes before you press down. So I think it might be like a little bit higher caffeine and you get a little more of the like full flavor, but that's a pianist answering that question and not a coffee snob.
well, that makes a lot of sense though, actually, because then the the coffee you're drinking is coming from the beans that are in that, like it's all in the same container.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Whereas with a drip, it's like the water has to pass through it, and then so like the filter process is even more so.
Right, and it has like less contact time.
Ah, that's interesting. See, now I want to invest in a French press.
So worth it. So
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, I like what you said too, because David, your husband David, the wonderful tech backup production guy at the New Music Chicago Presents.
The unlikely
um,
hero.
I like that he wanted to get the crank one because I think it was Alan Tyson, when Alan Tyson was on here, we were talking about how things like cast iron skillets and like straight razors for shaving last longer than the things that we use today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that he wanted that just because he's just a little bit of a Luddite. And it was kind of just like something, I don't know if it's because it was long lasting or it was just fun and weird, but we've had it for like 6 years and almost zero maintenance, and it grinds beautiful every time.
There you go.
Nothing to that.
I imagine you haven't had to buy any batteries for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like eat enough food. That's a battery.
Yeah.
Grind.
That's cool. Yeah, that's what I like about stuff like that though, is like it's much more like hands-on, you know? Like you feel so much more a part of the process.
Yeah, I think I can see that. Like you enjoy the cup just a little bit more. You're a little more present than for the Keurig button.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like collaborating and stuff in a way, you know? Like with like performer and composer coming together and being like, what sounds do you like? What do you like to, what don't you like to do? You know?
Never thought about it that way. It's so like integrated in the process, right?
Yeah, yeah, totally.
I
I
love
think
it.
that's one of the things that I love. I mean, like as a performer, and you do some composing too, right?
Oh, so like just starting down that journey
Yeah.
of seeing what's in that brain. Yeah, I wouldn't say that yet, but something I'm kind of exploring.
I think that's awesome.
Thank
How,
you.
how has that been so far for you?
It's been wonderful. It's been really difficult to set aside time because I feel like that's it's like a fun avocation. And yeah, especially this year, like when the work comes, I feel that it comes in really large waves. And so it's hard sometimes to like mentally set aside the time to devote to that creative practice. Because I'm used to my creative practice being part of my vocation, and there's like that large motivation to do that every day. So it's been when I do sit down and I do make time for it, it's like such a freeing process, and it's a part of my brain that just has not been exercised in quite that way. Like I feel like I'm creative in a lot of different ways, not just with music, but like making little sketches and kind of like drawing sketches and various ways. But that's a way that for some reason I've always been had really locked away. Like I'm not a composer, I'm a performer, so it's been really fun to unlock that. So I'm going to try to be good about making that a more regular part of my practice.
Oh, that's cool. I love what you said there too about like even just having little sketches as that being a sort of different sort of creative release in a way.
Yeah, that was something I started probably kind of before I was even trying to become part of the new music community. Was like I really wanted to unlock my playing in a way. I was kind of working on improvisation and working with a jazz teacher for a little while. And I thought, okay, maybe if I can get this part of my brain working with like sketches and drawing little silly comics, that this will kind of unlock like a similar key in my music brain. So that was kind of the way that I approached it back then. It's just fun and silly. And I should shout out to my good friend Richard Bocastro. So he's a fabulous, really wonderful composer and incredible teacher. So he's been the person that's been really, really graciously offering me composition lessons. It's been wonderful.
Oh, that's great. So you're doing that right now?
Yeah, kind of. I would love for it. We would both love for it to be kind of a weekly thing, but it's been not quite so regular with, both of our, lives and things coming. But yeah, it's a current thing.
That makes sense. I know. Yeah, we're all definitely juggling and trying to figure things out, and these crazy schedules that we all have now.
And you just got back from your residency.
I did. Yeah.
A couple weeks now, right?
Yeah. I mean, the trip back was always like, I visited my parents in New Jersey for a week. And then on a Sunday, I drove back to Chicago. And then the very next day I drove to Nebraska.
Right.
And so like that little period there was like, oh my God, this is a little much, but yeah. It's like, I just kept going farther west, which is it's funny too. Cause, Nebraska is actually the farthest west I've been in the United States.
No way.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Manifest a little bit of destiny this spring.
I like that. That's really cool. Yeah, I did. But yeah, and then a few days after I returned, I think we had the New Music Chicago Presents, right?
Yeah, that was the most recent one, right? It all kind of like tumbles together in my brain.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't express enough how wonderful you are and how fun and like pertinent it's been to have you there with me for those. So if like people that are listening don't know what we're talking about, it's we're both involved in this organization called New Music Chicago, and we have a series which is NMC Presents each month, and it's gone from my responsibility being to kind of host it and just be there to like say 10 words before the concerts to like doing the whole setup and kind of producing the whole thing, which is way beyond my pay grade and comfort level. And so we're live streaming everything, and Adam has stepped up to be an amazing collaborator on that. And yeah, it's been so nice.
Yeah, totally. No, I'm so excited to be involved in it, and thank you so much. Yeah, it has been so much fun. I'm loving it. I mean, especially that none of us have been able to be involved in anything like that in over a year.
Yeah, it's kind of a fringe benefit. It's like we've been getting to attend live concerts before anybody else is really able to. It feels a little bit unfair, but I guess we work for it, so it's okay.
Totally, yeah. We're putting ourselves out there to bring benefit, for the benefit of the people who are watching.
Hopefully that's what it is. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, even that first performance with Jonathan Hanau, is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Hanau.
I'm always terrible on where the accent goes. You know that.
Yeah, I am too. I mispronounce names constantly, and it's no reflection of the person. It's entirely me. But yeah, at that concert, I remember just like sitting there with you and David. It was just the three of us, and then Jonathan performing, and like it was so nostalgic and like kind of emotional way. Like, oh my God,
I know
how much has been missed.
Yeah, that was our first in-person live stream.
Yeah.
For that, we transitioned to doing pre-recorded performances, and everybody was just coming live from their home for the Zoom premiere of that. So it was really special.
Yeah.
Awesome performance on Jonathan's part.
So good. Yeah, there was so many cool polyrhythmic figures that he had in that. These ostinatos, and I was just like, oh my God.
I know, we're just nerding out.
The non-musicians who listen to this are going to be like, what the hell is going on?
Something to look up.
Yeah. It's we could explain it, but I don't think that's I don't want to get into it right now.
Pause and Google, come back. It's good.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that I'm curious a little bit more about your composing and stuff, because I I love when performers start to write music and stuff, because the way I kind of see it from my perspective, and I'm curious your thoughts, is as a performer, you've been playing so much music for many years, and you're playing a lot of people's music. So you have this wealth of experience of looking at high quality music and also low quality music too, right? um, and so in my mind, it's like you have all of these, like the composer, what's the description I'm looking for, like mind or something, because you what's that?
Sensibility, mind.
Yeah, because like you've played, what a good climax sounds like and what makes a good climax, because you've played it before.
I know, so many times. That's such an interesting perspective, because I, until really recently, had not seen it at all that way. And I realized that's part of what Richard's been helping me with, is just to realize like how much kind of experience and knowledge and kind of taste and preferences that I have already without having like tapped into it or realized it. And I think um, that's been the really hard part. It's not coming up with ideas and kind of developing them, but trusting myself to like break the inertia of taking the first step of just noodling at the piano and like starting the improvisation, playing around, accepting ideas, trying not to reject too many ideas outright. Because, when I first started piano, I loved playing Mozart, loved playing Beethoven. And I remember like being terrified at the prospect of composing. So like, there's so many rules. And I know that when I play a wrong note, it's terrible. And that's a really bad thing. And how in the world do you learn all these rules? I'll never be able to. And so I've never quite broken out of that. Like, it honestly took me a while as a pianist. I didn't have any kind of contemporary music education, no instruction on how to relate to living composers or how to like champion their music, how it all to relate to new music. That wasn't part of my education. And so it took me a while to learn how to trust and how to collaborate with composers in a meaningful way. And where was I going with that? I don't know. It was a part of my brain that I didn't really, I saw myself as the interpreter. That was my job. So it's been really remarkable to kind of learn to trust myself and realize that I have more ideas than I give myself credit for, and to kind of be confident with that. And I also, there's, a couple collaborators of mine who are primarily performers, and they're incredible performers. And I've seen them recently kind of step into the composer role and do work in that way. And that's been really motivating for me. So it's like, this was also, you've not had any formal training in composition yet. You have no qualms about jumping into this role and developing this creativity in this way. Al Tyson is actually an example of that, right? Like I think that his degrees are in, at least in theory. I don't know what else his degrees are in. He's got a lot of them, but he does not have a formal degree in composition yet. He's clearly an incredible composer. Like
tearing it up.
Yeah. So it's a process for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean about the whole like trusting yourself, like your understanding or ability or knowledge. Like it makes me think about when like if you're trying to solve a problem like in your house, it's like, oh, the water's leaking under the sink. Why? What is happening? And like you're looking at all the things, and you're like, well, I'm not a plumber. I don't know. Should I try to fix this?
Right. Like clearly this water shouldn't be coming out, and I think this is the thing I need to do. But this is not. Yeah. One thing that was really helpful that Richard was talking to me about was like, I told him that whole thing about like, oh man, I can't follow these rules. And he's like, well, think about why you remember Mozart, why you remember Beethoven, Shostakovich, like these people at a certain point, they break the rules. And when they start to break the rules, that's when their music gets really interesting. So he's trying to encourage me to not worry so much about like mimicking styles that I've played so often, but kind of just, if I'm composing for myself, which is what I'm doing right now, then just try to follow my ideas and not worry about following any kind of set of structures or rules necessarily right now. So
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that's one of the sort of challenging things with or aspects about like most stuff when you start in the beginning is it's like, well, what are the limits? Like, where do I, like, what are the rules? Like you're saying, and if I do this, is that bad? Like,
which when you think about it, like if you're trying out tennis for the first time, you're not thinking about like what are the ins and outs of tennis rules. You're thinking about how do I get the ball over the net. So like,
right.
it's weird that we approach composition in this really like backwards way seemingly than we would a lot more tactile every day.
Yeah, that's it's and I think part of it definitely stems from our training, because in school, like when we learn theory and history and like we learn about these people and stuff, but even when you learn about them, it's like Beethoven didn't follow any rules. He started the Third Symphony with a 5 chord, and that
Right?
was like boom.
Starting concertos with the piano. Like what's going on?
Exactly. Like he would transition. No, there wouldn't even be a transition from one theme to the next. It would just be like, here we are, and then all of a sudden it's boom.
See?
Like
Rule breaking. I know.
yeah, exactly. So it's I battle with I battle with rules that I create for myself, like these sort of self-imposed limitations, like like when you start to sort of figure out like, oh, this is what I do. And then if you do something outside of what you think of as your voice, then it's like, oh no, am I being inauthentic? Or
those are such, yeah. I mean, I don't know what you feel about that, but like I think those voices can be helpful in moderation as long as you're also able to like have some seasons where you can ignore it and like follow that idea. I don't know. I feel like that's a voice to learn to balance for me at least. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah, there's a certain level of temperament that has to happen.
Yeah.
Pun intended, by the way.
Ah.
I'm a fan of dad jokes, like I'm not a dad, but I'm a fan of them.
It's like composition. Yeah, get the jokes down first. Maybe not. You can outsource them to somebody.
I feel like there should be an episode dedicated just to stuff like that. Just dad jokes, puns, and like things that only 2 people laugh at,
That'd be like Conan O'Brien's podcast then, right?
Does he have a podcast?
He does.
Really?
It's great. Yeah.
Oh my God. I used to watch him a lot, like 10 years ago, I think. And like, I love how he would just be so sort of self-deprecating in many ways. Like,
yeah, and he's such an anxious person apparently, and like really neurotic, and I relate to that a little.
yeah.
And like, so he talks like, I kind of love this like new season we're in of comics and different creatives like that are really prominent, talking about like the inner workings of their mind and their practice and their insecurities and things. It just makes it so much more relatable. And so he talks to other comedians often about those. I think it's kind of shifted now, the conversations that he has, but like when he first started with this podcast, it was a lot of those conversations, and I found it so like, I don't know, it felt like such a safe place as a musician. Like, oh, I feel all these things as a performer. Like, that's so great to know that you've also struggled with like performance anxiety and imposter syndrome and all sorts of things. Like, it's great.
What you're saying right now is like resonating so heavily with me, Marianne. I'm so excited that we just came upon this on the podcast, because I'm a huge fan of comedy and I listen to a lot of podcasts by comedians. I got the same feeling that you get listening, like that whole, oh my God, I relate to this so much. And how, comedians have to test out their material and they're constantly changing it and doing this. And like, I've heard on Joe Rogan's podcast, he said how when like comedians hate hecklers, because when you have a joke that you're saying and you're trying to set it up, and then someone, and like you're halfway through and you're about at the punchline, and then someone interjects, that just throws off the momentum and like the flow.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about like performing and stuff, you know? Like, I don't know, a cell phone goes off or something, or
Breaks the magic. Yeah, exactly like you said. Breaks the momentum. There's so many parallels there.
yeah. Oh, that's so cool. That's really cool. I love that you're into the comedic podcast.
Love it so much.
Is Conan your top guy?
He is. I mean, you were just saying you're into a lot of comedic podcasts. Like, I haven't really gone down that rabbit hole too deeply. Like, I love Conan. He's got like consistent, like, comes out pretty often with new episodes. Well, I guess I listen to Dax Shepard's a bit. It's not so much. He's not so much a comedian as just an actor, entertainer. Wasn't so much sold on his style as much. I didn't like his podcast quite as much, but I have to check out Joe Rogan's. I haven't to trade Rex here.
Yeah, Dax, wasn't his called like Armchair?
Armchair something.
Yeah. I've listened to his I think a few times. Yeah, Joe Rogan's is fun because when he has other comedians on it and they just sort of like they just hash it out and like it's 2 hours, 3 hours long. And I would definitely recommend checking out Bill Burr. He's a comedian who just like, I think he's a person in general who like, he just doesn't really care. And he just, him and Joe on the podcast together, it's really funny.
So check that out. Yeah, he's
another one.
Guy.
Do you know, oh God, he was in the movie Half Baked, and he was on SNL for a while.
The Goat Boy? No.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Colin, I can't think of his name, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he always like he has like a stoner persona.
Yeah.
Him on Joe Rogan's podcast is hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah, but
it's been a while.
It's good. Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. But yeah, going back to the collaborative relationship and like what we were saying earlier about composing and feeling comfortable with it, like you've worked a good amount with collaborating with composers and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. When did that process begin for you? And I'm kind of curious, like, I feel like, because you said earlier, you weren't trained in contemporary music. And so I almost kind of wonder, like, when you first started collaborating with composers, was the process to collaborating with composers similar to starting composing now? Does that make sense?
Right. Like in terms of like the trust required to, yeah, that's an awesome question. So I think probably my first interaction with a living composer collaborating and not just playing the music, in like wind ensemble or percussion ensemble because I'm a pianist, but I also have not insignificant percussion training in a past life. So beyond just playing the music of a living composer, actually collaborating with somebody would be my cousin's composition. He's a theory professor at KU and have been doing a lot of composing at a certain point in his graduate studies. And so for his composition recital or the university's composition recital, I was a junior in college and I played his composition. So that was the first time, I think, at like 21. So kind of, I don't know, probably a little bit late in the game to do some kind of collaborating like that. And then, that was in undergrad, went to grad school, pretty traditional piano performance track there. So I didn't do much more with collaborating. And then I got to Chicago and I was the pianist for the Civic Orchestra of Chicago and kind of was still planning on having an institution support me in my career, not have to take the more entrepreneurial self-guided route while I was in the Civic. This is a long-winded answer. I promise I'm going to get there. But I think in my first year of Civic, I organized a chamber concert with, I was the principal pianist and there were 3 other associate pianists. So I organized a chamber concert for all of us to play on. And I got in touch with, seriously, kind of late in the game to the new music thing. So at this point I was, I think, 28 years old. And we played a piece that was commissioned by Eighth Blackbird by a California-based composer. And so that was kind of, I still hadn't done any commissioning. I think the first time I thought about commissioning was after I'd formed my duo. I have a marimba piano duo, L&M duo, and it was at a new music gathering and was at a talk about commissioning. And that's the first time that I thought, wow, like we can really have this power, this enterprise. Like I'm at a point where I can ask a composer to write a piece and like they can trust me with that and we can perform it and promote it. That's amazing. So that's kind of the first time it occurred to me that, wow, I can do this. This is a and so our duo then started doing a lot of commissioning work. And since then I've done a decent amount more of solo commissions and collaborating with different artists on new works. Yeah. So it's been an interesting road.
That's really cool. I loved hearing about like how you came into the new music world and like the civic orchestra ensemble you put together. Was it an ensemble of like 4 pianists? Is that what it was?
No, we each, I did play together. This is not new music, but we did the Bartok Sonata for 2 pianists and 2 percussion. So I did collaborate with one of the other pianists for that. But then each of them, like somebody, let's see, I'm not going to remember the whole program. But yeah, everybody kind of put together their own ensembles and their own pieces from different musicians in the civic and outside the civic. Yeah, and I think since then, since finishing the civic and kind of like taking that fork in the road and realizing, okay, I'm not going to, it's very unlikely that I'll have a full-time position with an orchestra as a pianist as my career. That's like not a thing that happens for too many people these days. So if not that, it's like sink or swim, have to start thinking about my career in a different way. And I think in a really not a long period after I changed my mindset about that, I kind of started to feel at home in the new music community and collaborating on new pieces and different colleagues' existing pieces and kind of championing certain friends' music. It was a lot more organic and a fun. Really, I didn't realize how fun that could be.
That's cool. I like that a lot. I'm kind of curious when you started getting into the new music community and stuff like that. What was something, whether it was like, I don't know, like playing at a cafe or playing, collaborating or something, but what was something about it that you like really surprised you in a good way where you're like, oh my God, I haven't had this. This is so interesting. I'm so glad I'm here.
The one that like in terms of like commissioning new music, you mean, or
yeah, whatever comes to mind, really.
Yeah, the one thing that comes to mind was a commission. So with my duo, L&M duo, we've done a little less this last year, just like circumstances and things, but it's still one of my favorite ensembles that I've had the pleasure of playing with that I've made. So we did a commission by a composer named Jay Derderian, who's on the West Coast, I think doing more like computer programming things than composing these days, but he's an incredible composer. And because I have this percussion background and my duo partner is really facile at piano, she's a fantastic pianist, we like really wanted a chance to kind of like be a little bendy and flexible on what instruments we're playing, not just strictly me on piano and her on marimba. And so he totally took us to task on that offer and wrote this incredible piece called Ludic Loops that it was in like 5 different interludes, so 5 different little movements, and the entire piece was an anagram. And we start on our own instruments, and then we move to like 4 hands, and eventually make our way to each other's instruments, and like 4. So we like kind of work our way around the whole instrumentation, and end up back on our own instruments by the end. And oh my God, it was a trip. And the music itself was just so fun and like rhythmically aggressive and right down my alley. So it was great.
That's cool. I love the theatrical element of that too.
Totally. Yeah. It was a hoot.
it gives stuff like that is definitely something I don't think audiences will forget,
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty powerful performance where the performers are just jamming out and then gradually transitioning between their parts and and
I think we blew like a few people's minds. Like eventually they get the idea like, oh, okay, so they're moving around. But like the first time that one of us moved, it's like, what's happening? What's going on? Like when I go to the marimba, like, what? She can play marimba? And of course I worked really hard to get my chops back up to do that. I think another one that comes to mind was a commission by Snowden that we did. That was like a huge, long story of a process to make that event come to life, where like we planned this entire event around the premiere of his new piece that was called 25 Million Candles. So it was inspired by the Wrigley building downtown in Chicago. And so we got to premiere it like in the plaza right in front of the Wrigley building, and like it got lit up for the night from the outside, like exactly as we started to play the premiere. And it was like, it was so sweet.
Oh my God, that is amazing.
Those are the kind of things that like, are unique to this little niche in the music world.
I am so excited to hear that you got to do that. And I wasn't even there or anything. Like, that's just cool. That's really interesting. Where is Wrigley Field?
Not Wrigley Field. So that is in Lincoln Park, Wrigley Field. So it's like the lakefront and north of downtown. And then the Wrigley building, named after the same guy, is like right by the river in the lakefront. So it's on the Magnificent Mile.
Okay.
Chicago. Yeah.
Gotcha. I have something I'm kind of curious about right now. I need to take a look real quick.
Okay.
So, damn. You mentioned New Music Gathering.
Yeah.
Which one did you go to?
The first one I went to was in Baltimore, Peabody. And then I went to BGSU, and then there are only two that I've been to. Oh my gosh, I've kind of forgotten. I feel like there's a third one that I went to, but I wouldn't remember where it was.
I'm trying to, because I know they do it in different locations. Did they do it in Arizona?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. They had Boston, but I've definitely been to, the first one I went to was in Baltimore. And then the one we performed at was at BGSU.
I think I was in the composer's performer speed dating and I got one of your business cards.
No.
I swear to God, that's what I was just looking for, because I think I have it somewhere.
That's incredible.
Were you in that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh my God.
Laurel actually just sent me some of the business cards that we'd had. Just like, I thought these would be interesting to you. You haven't seen all these. It's like, oh, and like there's so many people that I now like have a regular relationship with that I met during the speed dating, that like, it's speed dating, so you don't remember every face that you see.
Yeah.
Man, that's a point for business cards.
Oh, that's so fun. I know I have it too. I have a bunch of business cards just like right over here from people. But because when you mentioned New Music Gathering and then you mentioned Jay Darden, I met Jay at the BGSU one.
Oh man, I didn't even get to meet him in person there. That's funny.
Really?
Yeah, true story. Oh, I miss New Music Gathering. I so hope that it's in person in August.
Yeah, that was a really cool experience. I mean, it was just a plethora of all kinds of different presentations and performances and discussions and like experiences.
It's magical. It's such a great thing that they've created. I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, and it's so funny too to think like I think I may have been at that talk where they did the commissioning discussion.
No way.
I'm pretty sure I was, and like to think that we were there at the same time. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, because I went to BGSU for my master's degree.
Okay, that's right. I knew you had a connection there. I forgot exactly what degree it was for.
Yeah, and it happened to be at that time when the New Music Gathering came there.
How cool! Which was like right now in history, by the way. It was like I was looking back on. I know. I know.
Right. How weird is that?
I know.
It's so bizarre. I was walking around outside today. I was walking a dog, and like, God, this weather is just driving me crazy.
All over the place. It was like 86 2 days ago, and now it's 40 and rainy.
Yeah. Yesterday I was wearing shorts. I was like, Today I had my winter hat on again.
Welcome to the Midwest, New Jersey kid.
I know. I should already be somewhat used to it living in Ohio for a few years, but I don't know. That's okay. I was going to ask you about what was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So you have this really cool experiences, by the way, with these collaborations you've done, like with Jay, and then with what was his name?
Steven Snowden.
Steven Snowden, right? Yeah. Wrigley building, right? Yeah. And so what has your collaborative relationships been like this past year, and even coming up? Like what projects do you have coming up, or especially now that you're composing? I mean, I'm curious what the collaborative process is like with you now when you're working with a composer, and now that you're also composing.
Well, I will say straight up, like my composing, that's not gonna, right. I'm professional. I'm still really focused on the performing part professionally.
Sure.
So I think, I think my composition practice has a ways to go before I'm going to feel comfortable performing anything of mine in public. I think that's a goal, but that will, maybe not in the 21-22 season, maybe for, that'll be a long-term goal of mine to continue. But performing wise, this last year, oh my goodness. So it's been did you know that we're in a pandemic right now, Adam?
What?
Yeah, we've been in this pandemic for over a year now, and so that means the live performances haven't been able to happen, which is, I don't know if you noticed that.
This is news to me, so.
Okay, so sorry to break that to you. So we've done a lot of things live streamed and pre-recorded, but so that's been a big part of my creative practice, is obsessively recording pieces to be performed by the various wonderful small arts organizations that I play for. So performing lots of works, and since I can do 25 takes to get it just how I want it, I've been doing that. So that's been a little bit like hair-pullingly difficult for that part of my work this year. But it's been so wonderful to continue to have that organizational support. One project that's been super, super fun, and I think really unique to this last year, was a collaboration with violist and composer Michael Hall, dear friend of mine. So we decided to put on a pairing concert back in December, and we've been wanting to play together forever, and this is kind of the first chance that we both had enough time to think about a project to do together. So we basically pulled together, the first program was just music that we both loved, that we thought would be comforting for people to hear, and it turns out that we gave the world premiere of a new version of a piece by Stacey Garrett. And so we kind of set the precedent for giving a world premiere at these pairing concerts, where all the music is paired with specially created chocolates from this really wonderful local chocolatier, and wines that were curated by this local wine shop that's fabulous. And so that's been such a wonderful, and it was live streamed. It wasn't pre-recorded, so it was really organic, and it felt like just so much closer to live performance than pre-recording music to be premiered at a later time. And so we did a second one of those pairing concerts a couple months later, and continued the world premiere aspect to it. So Michael actually premiered his own piece at that second pairing concert, which is so fun. And so that's been like a real bright spot this last year. And I think going forward, I recorded an album with a really interesting, wonderful composer and singer-songwriter who's he's a Haitian American composer, and he's based in Montreal, and his name is G. France. And so that was kind of an outspurt of the first album that I recorded. And so that was supposed to happen at the before the world closed, and we finally had a chance to do that last fall. So that was a really meaningful project that we were able to focus on this last year. And it looks like things are going to start to, with any luck whatsoever, open up this fall for, we have the Big Ear Taxi Festival, and I have a wonderful program that I'm excited to show, including a world premiere by another Chicago composer named Pierce Gradone. And yeah, some other fun things down the pipeline.
Uh, so many cool things in that. Like, I loved the pairings, by the way. I remember when that was happening and stuff. How did you two come upon that?
So I actually the first pairing concert that I did it because I fangirl this chocolatier in Chicago. She's about my age, and I've just like idolized her ever since I discovered her chocolate shop.
Hmm.
The store's Catherine and Confections. So in like 2017, I decided to plan a pairing concert, which was obviously in person then, with another flutist friend. So we decided to pair some of the pieces on the concert to the chocolates. And that chocolatier is a pianist. Like, she studied piano as a kid, so she listened to the pieces and she designed the chocolates around those. And it was just like a one-off thing. So I was like, we both love to do this again, but there was never time or a reason to make it happen. And so in like probably October or November, I was like, well, I don't know what made me think of it again. It's like, I want to make this happen. And Michael was writing to me, and it's like, I wonder if Michael wants to do this with me. And he was all on board with our stupidly short timeline. And man, that was incredible. He's such an incredible collaborator. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah. Oh my God. Michael's, well, both of you actually, you both, I love seeing the things you two put out on Instagram and social media, like, all your posts with Lois Lane, the lovely, what kind of dog is she?
She is all sass and beautiful. She's 100% of respondents think she's a black lab, like a baby black lab, but she's a 2-year-old mix of blue heeler and mountain cur. It's like a herding dog and a hunting dog mixed together.
That's amazing.
Endless amounts of energy.
Oh, no wonder why she's so beautiful. That face.
She's a pretty girl. I know.
Mountain curs have so, like, the face is so pretty on a mountain cur, and
I'm surprised you know them as a breed. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the like the patchy sort of colors on them, and like their faces are always like almost like Petey from the Little Rascals, only just tan and stuff,
Yeah, they're really like stoic looking. They're beautiful.
That's cool. I had no idea. Yeah, I just assumed like, oh, she's a black lab, maybe. I don't know.
Right? 100% of respondents. Yeah.
Yeah, but she's leaner though. She's leaner than a black lab, and that's why I was questioning it.
Yeah, that's why everybody thinks she's a puppy black lab, because she just looks like this really gangly young black lab, but she's a very full size. She's just kind of like this skinny little wispy thing.
Oh, I love that energy. I love that.
Oh, she's great.
Yeah.
It keeps me young.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. That's what's great about dogs. I mean, having that, because dogs are like forever 5-year-olds, like 5-year-old people, like
Yeah.
just always running around, always like just excited and curious and nosy.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes with the reasoning ability of an adult, that like there's this weird mix of toddlerism and like mature adultism that's hard to manage sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, like the things that you post on social media, and Michael, he's always putting stuff with him practicing. And I remember, was it over the summer? It had to have been probably, but when he had videos of him playing on the roof of his apartment.
I know, that was so cool. Yeah, he's a social media god. Like he's always putting out really interesting and consistent material. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what it was. It was like, it was kind of cool to see you two come together and like, oh my God, this is like, boom, a big moment in time.
Oh, it was, he's really, really energizing to play with.
When I had Lisa Nair on the podcast, we had mentioned how you and her had worked together before.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about Michael and then Megan Enan. And I was like, oh my God, all of them have an M name. There's something there.
I told you. Well, yeah, Lisa's amazing, obviously. And to answer your question from that podcast, so it was ACM, like the first time we came together was Seth Bosted of Access Contemporary Music was looking for composers to commission for this like inside the piano discovery, and so her name came to mind immediately, even though I still have not met her in person, but that was like the first collaboration we had. So we one of the pieces for our Ear Taxi program, we commissioned another awesome Chicago composer, Regina Harris Bayaki, to write a piece. And she, like, very informally from the beginning, it's for myself, Megan, and Michael. So she started calling us the 3M trio, and it's kind of stuck throughout that the particular collaboration.
Oh, that's cool. So viola, voice, and piano.
Mm-hmm.
Or is there going to be any percussion at all, or
no?
No,
just the trio.
Okay. Yeah. And this is a world premiere.
Yeah.
Oh man, I have so many questions, but it's a world premiere, so I'm sure there's a lot of like, can't talk about it yet.
But they're so good.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. I'm so glad I live in Chicago, because then I could be present for that.
Oh man, You're a Taxi, baby. It's gonna be so nice.
I think that night it's gonna be like the planets are going to align with Marianne, Michael, and Megan in one performing all in one, piece and everything. It's gonna be a moment.
Let's just like get everybody vaccinated between now and then, so we can make it. That's like not. I'm so stoked for our performance, but that whole festival is just lining up to be mind-blowingly good. So.
I can't even imagine, honestly. I wanted to try to get to the one. What year was it? Oh God, 2017, I think. 2016 was that the first one?
Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to get to that, and I unfortunately couldn't. I have the program from it, actually, because that year Augusta Reed Thomas was the guest composer at Bowling Green for this thing, and she brought the programs with her, and I was like, yeah, I want one of those.
Yeah.
And just kind of like, thumbing through it and like seeing all the performers and ensembles and composers, and it's like this is like the Oscars for new music or something.
Oh my God, she's such a force. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was her thought, baby.
She is a force, though. You're right. I mean, she's like someone who just is always doing something, and it's always like big.
Yeah.
And powerful.
Yep. She's a visionary for sure.
Have you worked with her much?
Yeah, I might have I hope to quite soon.
Okay.
So, not much to say about that yet, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, I mean, like I whenever I look at the stuff that she has going on, or what she does at the University of Chicago, and did she start that ensemble, the CC? What's it called?
I'm pretty sure that was an initiative of hers, the Chicago Center for Contemporary Composition.
Yeah.
And she also started the Grossman Ensemble.
That's what I was thinking of, the Grossman Ensemble.
Yeah. She just handles all parts of the planning of these incredible artistic endeavors just masterfully. She's incredible.
I strive. I wish I could do that. I struggle with that stuff,
We all do. I know. A case study. We should all watch her so closely.
That's true. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, like trying to balance all these different aspects of being a musician, and like, I mean, like like we've been talking about for you is getting your feet wet of being a composer and stuff, and being a pianist and New Music Chicago, and you teach as well, right?
I do. Yeah. I do. I maintain a fairly small private studio. I teach at the Music Institute of Chicago and have a small handful of private students. Yeah, it's a challenge. I don't know how you think of it. I always think of my career as just like a pie. And so there's like these different areas of the pie that get a certain amount of my time and energy, and which contribute a certain amount of my income, which, is never, it's all over the place. But yeah. Like balancing how big of a part of the pie the teaching is versus the performing versus the, other aspects of making artistic projects happen. I'm sure you talked about that with other guests on your podcast, but it's like an always evolving balance of those pie pieces. Yeah, and not only like to get past the point of like, I find myself challenged right now at not only thinking of like, okay, how do I want to balance this, but like, how do I want this to be balanced 5 years from now? So that's a question that's always kind of scared me, but I realized, okay, I've got to like, this is a question you need to face. Otherwise, like, how are you going to know what direction you're going to go in more than 2 years into the future, right? So trying to think of more overarching ideas and goals for my career is something I'm currently kind of juggling and considering. Yeah.
Yeah. The foresight and planning.
Yeah.
That's tricky. Yeah. I've always been kind of, had trouble with that. What is your, like, how far ahead do you think like you usually look? Like, are you like, I look only a week ahead or a month or like 5 months, or like, where are you with that?
I think usually I have trouble thinking in terms of like concrete planning more than a year ahead. But a year feels comfortable, and too much less than that starts to feel anxious in terms of like having enough time to learn music for, different programs or different things. That's kind of the guiding force there. It's like, how much time do I have to learn this program? And so it's, probably like 1 year in advance. And like the shortest term that feels comfortable at all is like 4 months in advance for something. And of course, there's always like, those are like the big rocks that go to the bottom of the jar, right? You want those things to be in place and to be well planned. And then there's like all these other little 1 month, 2 week pebbles that can settle in around those. But like, it's always a challenge to like make sure all the big things are in place and you don't forget about them and you keep space for them. And then, But I have trouble like with the conceptual planning of further than a year away. I feel like that's something I'm currently trying to get better at.
And so have you always felt comfortable like thinking yearly, or has there been a gradual build to that?
No, definitely not always felt comfortable with that. Probably my school years, if any of my former teachers will listen, like, I was generally ready at a performance, but like to be ready for something, even one rehearsal, one lesson before a performance was unlikely. So like very much like by the skin of my teeth as deadlines came up wasn't the best at foresight and planning until say like my early 30s probably.
Yeah.
20s, early 30s.
That makes sense. I think a lot of us are that when we're in school.
Yeah.
It's like you're just thinking about what do you have to do today, or even in the next hour, like planning
what I
it
have
out.
to do to not create stress dreams that will revisit me for decades to come.
Yes. Oh my God. Going to sleep and then just having those nightmares of like, well, actually for me, it's not even going to sleep. It's not going to sleep because I'm so anxious about what I have to do tomorrow, you know?
Yeah. What's up with that? Like, I feel like the mind always has a way of like, it's so concrete. It always does it. It's always right before bed that it starts thinking the things you need to do in that moment. I feel like it's a trick to like quell that beast.
There is. I had a sleep therapist for a period because it was so severe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what was happening for me was I kept myself so busy all day, constantly trying to do things and taking information and whatnot. By the time I was going to bed, I treated laying down, which you're doing nothing except laying there, right, for bed. I treated that as like time to think about things because now I have the mental space to do that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so bed for me I associated it with work and not relaxation.
Gosh, that seems like so obvious, but like you don't think of that unless somebody can point that out to you in that way.
It's so stupid.
Funny.
It's so stupid.
I see, like you're saying you're sleeping. That was your time where your mind is like open and able to kind of like turn these wheels. I found that for me, that comes during when I walk. I think I love walking, and I feel like such a nerd about it because it's so boring. But like, I'll just walk. Like going on a 12-mile walk would be like my idea of a fantastic morning for lunch. I don't do it all the time, but it's just because like your mind can, I don't know what it is about it, but my mind can go places that it doesn't go when I'm sitting focusing on a task. Like it's able to come up with different connections for things and different ideas. Like I don't know. It's like literally the things start churning when I walk.
I'm the same exact way. I love going for walks. Through, like just kind of cruising around the neighborhood, walking up to Humboldt Park, walking through over by the water.
It's a beautiful process. Like it's such a fun place to be mentally.
It really is. And the thing with that too, I like, you know, you said about like sort of freeing, like allowing your mind to just sort of wander and stuff. You're not setting any hard expectations on what you need to be thinking about. It's just sort of taking it as it comes. And
yeah.
You know.
And then of course, like I tend to get anxious, like, oh, can't forget that idea. Like,
Right.
I'll forget it. So, but,
yeah, that's true. That's true. I sometimes like that's like a part of my composing process is I'll go for a walk and I'll have my phone on me, but I put on airplane mode because I'm thinking I don't want to be interrupted.
yeah.
But I'll use it to record something like, oh, and I'll even like sing into it or, you know, say whatever the idea is that I have, like, all right, the flute plays this high F for like 28 minutes, you know, like whatever it is.
Wow.
I'm sure flute players would love that.
Keep walking, buddy. Keep walking. That's a great idea, just to make little notes to yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have this little pad with a pen and stuff on it too, but I was never good with carrying it because I hate having things in my pockets.
Yeah.
Even though a phone is a thing in my pocket, I don't know. That's stupid.
You can do so many things though. It's like having an entire backpack of things and a phone.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, I recently started doing this thing, going back to the whole idea of like scheduling and stuff like that. It's been a total game changer for me with in my phone, I set my calendar for just a week. Like, so I only can see a week, right?
Oh.
And I treat my phone calendar as my short term.
Okay.
And then I have like an actual thing.
That's a cool system.
But not only that, I started using emojis for whatever thing I had to do. So like this podcast, for example, I used a headphone emoji. So I know exactly what the task is.
That's what that is for. That's so smart.
Yeah. And so like, it's actually made things like just seeing the emoji, like makes it's such a difference, you know?
I'm stealing that. That's really good.
By all means, use it. Yeah. I
had no question when I saw the entry for today's conversation. It's like, oh yeah, it's the podcast. There's no question what that is.
Oh, it edited it on your thing?
It sure did. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's right. Yeah. Because for anyone who listens or watches this or anything, I use this. Megan Enan actually talked about on her episode. I use Calendly.
Mm-hmm.
Calendly. How do you say that? Calendly.
You don't say it, you use it.
No, yeah. That sounds like something from like an SNL skit. Like,
yeah.
Like a New Yorker, like, you don't say it, you use it. You know, like. But yeah, I use Calendly, and whenever anyone's on the podcast, I have it set already to what my availability is. And like, so Marianne shows the time that worked, the time for what worked for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then once she filled it out, we both get emails notifying us like, oh, this is happening now. And not only that, it gets added to your calendar.
It's so great. Yeah.
And so when it was added on my calendar, I edited the thing to have the little headphones emoji, and then it went through to Marianne's as well. So
great.
Yeah, it's a cool little tool. It's fun too, trying to figure out what emojis you want to use for certain things. You know,
how many different emojis for keyboards are there?
Yeah, because I was trying to like decide what should be the emoji for New Music NMC Presents.
Yeah, I was literally just thinking about that when you said it.
Yeah, or like what should an emoji be for a rehearsal, or should it all be the same, or like, you know, I don't know.
Those are the questions for the next walk.
There you go. Yeah, these are the hard questions that need to be studied and analyzed for years.
Mhm.
It's a thorough process. Yeah. So what sort of things do you have coming up short term? Like let's say like short term, like next like 2 to 3 months.
Okay. So actually, I just wrapped up a couple things in the last couple weeks. I did so like this week I feel like free as a bird. So I did a recording project with Crossing Borders Music, which is another chamber ensemble where I'm serve as the pianist. So we did a Mother's Day program. So we got to record music by Florence Price and Teresa Carreño and a couple other wonderful composers. So did that last week. That's going to be premiered in the next couple weeks. We also recorded a program with the same group by a composer named Eustacio Rosales, who's had some time in Chicago. I forget when he passed away, but he was like a late mid 20th century composer. So that's another program with Crossing Borders. It's going to come out in like 2 or 3 weeks from now. And then I also recorded and did a live performance and a pre-recorded version for a virtual presentation of Sound of Silent Film Festival, which is a festival that Access Contemporary Music has put on for 16 years now. So that's a really incredible experience. So it's pairing original scores with short silent films. Yeah, it's such a cool concept. So that's actually next weekend that's going to premiere. So those are all coming up. And then I've kind of so far have managed to keep my performance palette mostly clean because I have some really fun, I guess. Yeah, I don't, I wish I could say more things. So at some point, probably somewhere in August, I'm going to get to premiere a really fantastic new prelude for solo piano by Stephanie Ann Boyd. That's called Pincushion Protea. So if you haven't, do you know Stephanie or of her?
Ooh, her name sounds very familiar, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. So she lives in New York. She's originally from Michigan and has been in New York for the last several years. Really wonderful composer. And she started this huge commissioning project where she commissioned 11 different pianists. And one of them was commissioned twice. So there's 12 preludes, all based on that pianist's favorite flower. And so it's her flower catalog, and it's really loosely inspired by the Debussy books of preludes. And so mine was Pincushion Protea, which is this really weird, pokey flower if you haven't seen it before. So that's the next premiere that I have coming up. That'll hopefully be in August. And hopefully more specific details on the where and when soon. It's going to be at the New Music Gathering. I don't know if it's going to be virtual or in person or what the exact date's going to be. So I'm really, really looking forward to that and like buckling down and learning that. Let's see, the Ear Taxi Festival, which you talked a little bit about, is going to be a couple months after that. And there's going to be a few other really cool projects that I wish I could speak more on now, but more to come in the fall. But the summer is going to be kind of dedicated to learning that music. Oh, I'm also starting a leadership program. Like it's not another graduate degree, but it's kind of like a graduate certificate, 12-month program with this thing called the Global Leaders Program. That's just designed to give like working musicians like a broader tool belt to be leaders in the arts in all these different areas. So that'll be fun. That starts late this summer.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. It'll be intense, but good.
So many really interesting and exciting things going on in your world, Marianne.
Oh, man, after this year, it's so nice, isn't it, to have things start to move along a little bit?
Yeah, that's just beautiful. It's so nice. You're right. I mean, God, fuck 2020. Like that's it's exciting to see that you like these interesting projects. Air Taxi is going to be a big deal, and the preludes, but with Stephanie, that's cool. I always get excited when I hear composers who are writing music that it's either based or influenced by another composer or artist, because like you're kind of getting a little glimpse into the composer themselves of what they,
Yeah, kind of gives it a little structure to jump off from, and yeah.
And then the connection with the flowers and stuff too, which is also like impressionism, right? I think of Monet and his Japanese bridge with all the flowers and stuff coming down.
Yeah.
Like so
Yeah, it seems almost like not only like visual influence, but with this like almost like sometimes tactile and scent, like a lot of different sensory influences with
are
that.
you gonna perform and have some flowers on the piano or anything, or like
Thought about that, but that's a really wonderful idea.
that could be cool.
Yeah.
Have a little flower
Oh
behind
yeah, I could pop one as like a, oh my gosh, that's next level.
you. We're building it up.
Yes.
It's funny because I was wondering what a ponea.
Protea?
Oh, protea. Okay.
Yeah. Close.
Clearly, I don't know
I also wonder
plants.
what that is.
You said it's like a spiky sort of.
Yeah, like you wouldn't find it naturally anywhere in this climate. It's like very much like a warmer, more tropical flower. So it's got these like, I don't know what the part of the flower is, but the stems maybe? They're like these pokey little pincushion things, like little pins on top, and they're like bright orange. And the whole flower is just like this textural masterpiece. It's so weird. It's great.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, my girlfriend, like the last year or two, has gotten really into plants, and she has a lot of succulents.
Does she have good luck keeping those alive?
Yeah, actually, she's. I got her plant lights because we live in the basement of our apartment.
Okay.
So we don't get very good sunlight here.
That's a love language right there. That's very nice.
What's that?
Getting the plant lights.
Yeah, I it was definitely important, and she she was bummed with the plants. They weren't thriving really well,
Yeah.
But then the plants multiply. There's more and more.
Yep.
More and more.
You and David might have another conversation topic next at MCP.
Yeah.
Like you can tell a difference after having the lights on them.
Yeah, actually, it's worked pretty well. Most of the plants are sitting right in like the one window we really have up front by the sidewalk. But she still has the lights. She has one of the lights is in the window as well.
Okay.
And then we have another one just off by the kitchen and stuff where there's a little bit more room. And those plants don't even get any light except for the artificial one.
Okay.
And I think she uses that for, what's the word? Propagating?
Yeah. Starting new babies.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. So I think that's what she uses it for. I don't know. She's gonna hear me say this and she's gonna be like, "How did you not know?"
Good for her.
Yeah. But yeah, it seems like in the plant community is very like it's like the people love their plants, like just
they sure do. I feel like I'm like stumbling into plant parenthood with like no expertise and no real knowledge, and like not wanting to invest a ton of money into it because I just have so little faith in my ability to keep them alive. But like little by little, I haven't had a plant die in quite a while now. Like successfully propagated a few, and so it's a fun hobby. I don't know if you saw like my big pandemic project was like overhauling our building's shared backyard from like a wasteland into kind of a nice place to hang out.
Yeah, I saw the photos. It looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Very DIY, very make you want to go see a chiropractor after all the lifting of the stones and stuff, but that's fun. So I got to do a lot of planting back there and stuff too. And it's like I've always underestimated like the amount of happiness that you can get just like going out every day and seeing like something growing by like 1 millimeter. It's fantastic.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Did you plant like a lot of flowers and stuff? Are there like vegetables and herbs, or what is your
In years past, but like David made a raised bed and I tried to do different vegetables and stuff. And like my prized harvest from that year was a carrot that had like huge greens but was the size of my pinky nail. That was the extent of my agriculture. And we have a ton of rats that we like to support in the backyard. So yeah, I don't like to share food with them. So it's mostly just flowers to look at.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I saw there's just those rat signs all over the place. Don't feed the rats. And, for those who don't live in Chicago, there are rats.
You can't win with it. I put out a bird feeder, and now the rats found their way to like the husks from the bird seed. And it's like, come on, dudes. But no, Lois Lane chases the rats away, so that's all okay. It all works.
There you go. Lois Lane is she's like, oh, I got you.
And she's faster than the rat too, so like she lets them get away.
Oh really?
Oh yeah.
So she's just playing with them.
She wouldn't know what to do with herself.
That's funny. Yeah, she's just like I can get you, but I let you get away.
I won't be able to chase you anymore.
Yeah, that's true. We when I was younger, we had a Jack Russell Terrier, and they're like they were bred to chase rodents and stuff.
Yeah.
And where I lived in New Jersey, my grandma lived closer to the Pennsylvania border, and she had like 13 acres of land, and it was like a farmland in a way. And we'd take our dog up there, whose name was Wishbone, like the show, and he would go crazy in the field, like burying his face into these like mouse holes and stuff and trying to find them, and like loved it.
Go for that.
Yeah. It's like this is his environment. He's good. Just he'll be doing that for the next hour. Like
that's amazing. For the next 21 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so exciting too, like seeing animals sort of in their environment like that, or particularly dogs, because like dogs are so domesticated, but they're animals,
Yeah. Hard agree. So great. So
yeah. They have that instinct. But yeah, I think we've talked about some good stuff today. How do you feel about everything?
Yeah. How long's it been now? Like 15 minutes?
Let's see here. It has been checking the timer. We have been going for an hour and 10, 15 minutes.
Kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's bye.
It does, right? Yeah. How do you feel about everything? Feeling
good? That was really fun. Yeah.
Awesome.
I said like anything useful to anybody else, but it was a lot of fun.
No, I think you said so much that's really useful, especially talking about your experience with composing and then starting to collaborate and like your whole process and
yeah, I'm glad you asked about that. That was like, that's a journey that's, I don't know, it's like hard to explain. It happened over like kind of so smoothly, and yeah.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I'm definitely interested in the composer, aspect and like all that stuff. And, but obviously with, amazing performers like yourself, it's just so exciting, seeing people just kind of go and try things out and then start to pursue certain paths and like, kind of like you were saying about, gardening, like you're saying, like, I'm not trained in it. I'm going to try this out though. I'm interested in it. And
trial and error.
Yeah. It's so cool though. But before we finish this call here, do you want to, let the people know about your, how to contact you and stuff? If anyone wants to reach out or follow you and see the cool things that you're posting with you and Lois, the dog. And
sure, absolutely. So you can always find me on my website, which is just marianneparker.com. MarianneParker.com, which I need to update much more often. But that's a great way to be in touch and has some pertinent information on it. You can also find me more about like music goings on over on Twitter. And if you want to see more Lois Lane goings on and things like that, I'm on Instagram as well. So you can find me, I think it's like M and then 4 R's and then ANNE on Instagram. But you can find me easily on Twitter. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, this has been so cool. I'm so glad that we got to do this. Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a blast.